So, welcome back to a brand new episode of Nerd World. And today, today we're going to talk about my favorite game of all time. Conker's Bad Fur Day. So, a lot of people in the N64 era loved Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, stuff along that line. But it seems like everyone always forgets about this one. I've seen a couple people talk about it on here, but I haven't seen a whole lot. So I'm gonna hopefully bring some stuff to the table here. So back in 2002 or 3, one of those, my stepmom, and my real dad, who I lived with at the time, had an N64, and we had a couple games, Jeopardy, stuff like that. And then they brought home a boxed copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day. And oh my god, it was so good. It was really good, and it was probably my childhood memory of the N64 that I love the best. I played Mario, I played GoldenEye. I didn't play Banjo at all because we didn't have Banjo and Kazooie. But Conker's really stood out, and it easily became one of my favorite games of all time. Just sitting down, watching my stepmom play it, or me playing it, or me and my brothers getting together, and we sit down and we play the multiplayer together. Oh, so much fun, so cool. Like, it was really good. My personal opinion, I think it rivals GoldenEye's multiplayer. It was a good time. So, I have 2 copies of here, because I recently found the second copy. This one's all bit busted up because it's old, and so is this one, but this one's in a newer condition, so that's why I decided to get this one. So I have 2 of them. Not to mention, this is one of the rarest N64 games there is. But a lot of people don't talk about Conkers. And maybe it's because the parents didn't let them play it, or it didn't sell well, because it didn't really sell well. They only had like a couple copies per store, and they had to put it behind shelves or up on countertops so where children couldn't get them. So that's why, it didn't play it. But you had those few innocent parents who didn't know any better, and they looked up the game and they was like, oh, it looks like a cute platformer. And then it got for the children, and then they said, and they started cursing and everything like that. But you didn't tell your parents. Of course, you didn't want to tell them that, because then you would get your game taken away. My stepmom and real dad would let me play this, but when I live with my mom and dad. At the time, they hated Conker's Bad Fur Day. They did not let me play it at all. And I remember the first time I got a laptop, I found an emulator. That was pretty new to me at the time, an emulator for the N64. And I downloaded the Conker's Bad Fur Day ROM, and I played it. And I remember going to my brother and be like, "Dude, look what I got! I got Conker's Bad Fur Day. Don't tell mom! I'll get in trouble." And it was just great, and I always try to find a way to play it. And I got my own copy of it. The flea market, a couple years ago, I think. It was in Washington, and then they had this busted up copy, and they wanted $40 for it. And now, for this, that was the cheapest I've ever seen this game, and I grabbed that and I played it, and I've beaten it so many times. But this copy wasn't doing well because I saw somebody here where I'm at selling this copy, and they wanted $70. I didn't have $70 at the time, so I took a bunch of my games and I traded it. I traded like 12 games for this one game, and I don't regret it. Like, I got rid of my GoldenEye, I got rid of my Star Fox for that game. I got rid of some other things too, just some games on the side. And I really love Conker's Bad Fur Day. I think it's one of my favorite games. I try to do as much as I can. I try to bring it up to people, and every time I bring it up to someone, I'm like, "Have you ever heard of Conker's Bad Fur Day?" And they go, "No, I haven't." What is that? And actually, I don't have it out right now, but there was a Game Boy game, and he was also in Diddy's Kong Racing. But Conker actually started in his own adventure on a Game Boy game called Conker's Pocket Tales, and it was a cute little GBA game, Game Boy Color game. I meant. It's pretty good. Well, after that, they were working on a sequel, but that didn't happen, so they ended up with a remake. And in 2004 or 3, we got Conker Live and Reloaded. Now, this one I really don't have much memories with, except recently. this game we had it started out on a demo disc. Remember those for the original Xbox and PlayStation 2 on the ground and stuff like that? Well, this was a demo disc, and you started out on the beach level. That was pretty cool, and I beat that. I was really, and I kept replaying it because it was awesome. I love Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I always wanted them to make a movie about it. And my stepmom was like, "Why?" So you can curse, because I was a little kid. You know, if they said poop in the game, I lost it, and I'd quote the poop. I used to sing the Great Mighty Pooh all the time, so much that my real dad had made a rock cover of it. I have to get in contact with him. I'm gonna have to get that rock cover if he still has it somewhere. But we had this one. I didn't really play it much. The thing that turned me off of it is that it wasn't local multiplayer that I knew of at the time. So my brothers and I, that's what we played the original for, and we thought that if we beat the story mode, we get the multiplayer unlocked, and that wasn't the case. You needed Xbox Live to play online, and then there were some short things you could do locally, but they're not really worth your time. But this one came out, and oh my god, this game, like back then I wasn't into it, but this game looks so good for an early Xbox game. It's so good that it could be, if they put this on the 360 at the very early, like the launch of it, I would believe that it was a 360 game. It looks that great. And I also think this is the easier version, because the original is pretty hard. It's pretty hard. It gets harder as you go on. And, this one, they kind of dumbed it down a bit. Like, for an example, God, the villagers in Conker's Bad Fur Day, when you're in the bat part, when you're in the bat form, you have to drop one villager, then you got to drop two, and then you got to drop three. Well, in this one, you got to drop three of them, and that's all you got to do. They simple stuff down. They toned stuff down a lot. It's kind of like what was that game called? Oh, it's kind of like I can't remember. But they toned it down a lot. And this one, the graphics look amazing. The one thing, like, believe this or not, the one thing that bothered me is that he wasn't wearing any gloves. And I still hate that to this day. I don't know why. It looks so unnatural with him with no gloves on. So I'm so used to seeing him in gloves. And they also censored a lot of this version. They censored a lot more than they should have. Like the Great Mighty Pooh is probably the most notable one, where he's just singing and they just curse, they just bleep out a couple things, but it's still unnatural. It's on the Xbox. You know, you're not on the kiddie Nintendo anymore. You're on the Xbox. You know, you're supposed to have more uncensored stuff. It's supposed to be good. But boy, I tell you, if I can backtrack just a little bit, playing the N64 version and getting to like the Great Mighty Pooh for the first time, oh my god, you have no idea. I was like maybe 4 or 5 when I played this game, and I lost it because it was a pile of shit singing at me, you know? It was funny. Now, it surprises me that my parents actually even let me play that. I mean, well, unwillingly. I snuck behind their backs a lot. Now they let me play it without too much shit. I got great memories with this one, man. Like, this is my favorite game of all time. God damn. Like, it's so gorgeous. And they wanted to put all the graphical work onto the 64, into the cartridge, without having to use the, oh god, what was it called? The thing that made Donkey Kong, the pack. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. They wanted to use that. It doesn't even need that. This game looks better than Donkey Kong 64, and that needed the pack, and they wanted to put all the graphics on this. The only problem is the sound sounds a bit, like the audio sounds a bit bad, and they cleared that up on the future ones for Live and Reloaded. But then, it went dark for Conker. Conker, after Live and Reloaded was gone, Conker was gone. Until Rare Replay came out. And boy, let me tell you, I was excited for this, mostly just because Conker was on it, and that's what I was excited about. When Rare had announced this, I was blown away. I begged my mom to help me go get it, and it was $30. This is actually roughly very cheap now. You probably get a GameStop with the packages of Gears of War. You probably get it for like $5 now. it's kind of a shame, but like, I bought this brand new when it first came out. I was so hesitant to open it because I wanted another one. I wanted to collect it. But this game is really worth nothing nowadays. But Conker was on it, and they made it all. The feeling was back. They cleaned it up a lot, so you can easily tell what was going on. You know, it wasn't nothing fuzzy because we're not running off of a cartridge anymore. We're running off of a CD, and it looks really good. But the problem is that the audio is still pretty bad. You know, they restored it back to the original audio, which is fine, but it's kind of jarring. It's more like a ROM hack because they just threw like the Xbox One buttons in. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. But I really thought that Rare was coming back and that they're going to make more platformers like this. Again, because they have 30 games on there. 30 games. While some are hit and miss, when you really jump to like the 64 era games, that's where it really matters. And then after this, he came back in Project Spark. No, before this, he came back in Project Spark. And that, he was supposed to get like 5 chapters, but they got 1 and then it worked. Chris Seaver is a genius. You know, he was one who he directed Conker's Bad Fur Day. And some of my great memories and great gameplay started from Conker's Bad Fur Day. I love the game. Some memories I have with it, just me sitting down with my brothers, and we just playing it over and over again. Multiplayer. And my brother fucking spam us with the Uzis. Oh my god, what a bastard. But it was really fun. I really miss those days, and I really think more people should know about Conker's Bad Fur Day. No one's talking about it. I mean, you get some people just briefly glance over it, but I think it's because Banjo outshines it for a lot of people. Now, that's a shame. I really think that's a shame. I think Conker's Bad Fur Day is a great game. I've beaten it more times than I could possibly imagine. Now, I'm not saying that you could hate Banjo or whatever, but I do believe Conker does hold a state and an area for the 64. Yeah, and that was pretty much my thoughts on Conker's Bad Fur Day. A really great game. Like, I really enjoyed it. I mean, how many games do you know that start out with a hungover squirrel, you know, just dealing with all these crazy characters that curse and just, it was great. Conker needs to come back, like truly come back. But the problem is, he can't. And Chris Seaver, the director and creator of Conker's, has pointed that out. He said that people are too offended these days, and Conker would never have another game because they're too offended. That's a shame, because they were working on a sequel, and it sounded pretty good, and then they canceled like almost every Conker sequel that has come out. Conker's Other Bad Day, which was a sequel to this, and that got swapped out for Live and Reloaded, and then Conker getting Medieval, and that was basically around the universe of Conker. And not the actual character. It's going to pretty much just be an online exclusive, like the online of what they had for that. Which I gotta say, the online is garbage for Conker Live and Reloaded. Like, I've played it with my brother. We sat down and we gave it a shot because there is some local play to it, and it's not fun. They took the war mechanics from, which is fun. It swaps into a third-person shooter, and unlike the original where it was like kind of hard to control, this one controls beautifully, and I have a blast. It's like you're playing a whole nother game, actually. And they try to make that into the multiplayer, but it doesn't work, and it's so confusing. I have no idea what to do. I didn't want to look it up because I felt like if I looked it up, it would kind of defeat a lot of the purpose that even playing it to begin with. I can imagine if I played this around when the multiplayer was new, I would have got my ass handed to me because I wouldn't have known anything. Especially back then, I was like 2004. I was like 5, 6 when that game came out. You know, there would have been no way I would have got a grasp of it. And plus, I was too poor. I couldn't afford Xbox Live back then, even though I want to, but I just couldn't have. But yeah, guys, that was Conker's Bad Fur Day. My thoughts on the game. My favorite game of all time. I'll keep bringing it up probably in later videos just because of how good this game was. It just hits a soft spot. We know we all have We all have that favorite game that just sticks with us. And no matter how many flaws there are in it, we keep pushing through. Like, no, it's good. Because the nostalgia goggles on our faces. And I have a lot of this with Conker. Now, also, I can also count the flaws. And there's a lot of stuff in this game that pisses me off. But other than that, I love the game. I love the humor. I've always loved the humor. My parents hate this game so bad. They hate this game. And hopefully, one day when I'm lucky, I can get a box copy of this game, and I'm going to seal that. I'm going to put it in its own little container, and I'm never opening it, because that would be great. That'd be just phenomenal if I had a box copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day. But anyway, guys, till next time.